The phone performed the emergency mode operation dutifully. That actually usually gave me a little bit of power back to the phone and allowed it to go a while longer instead of instantly dying on me. So I moved from the phone to working on the flashlight. In one practiced motion, I undid the top of the flashlight. The core slid out, and I carefully removed it and inspected the batteries for corrosion. There was none, of course, from this brand of batteries. The price I paid for these batteries was so well worth it. The rubber moisture barrier was still in good shape and stayed with the shell like it was designed to. I made a mental note to myself to try to get some additional replacement rubber moisture barriers someday if I could find them. I still don't understand how people can say these types of batteries spontaneously combust anyway. If treated right, they're the best you can get. I snapped one out and set it on one side of the safe circle that I had made. Then I picked one up from the new spot and set it in my flashlight the same way. Rotated and then repeated the last section. Then all three had been swapped out. To complete, I checked to make sure they were all nestled in snugly. Usually there was one where the lead didn't match up perfectly. It didn't affect function, but it wouldn't fit in as streamlined as it should. I felt through them and found the right one, and with some pressure it snapped in all the way. With that done, I slid the core in smoothly and twisted the bottom closed. I thanked my phone and then shut it off before it powered itself down. I hated trying to power it up from a full dead battery. If the charger isn't strong enough, even with the phone powered off, it's a real bear to get the charge started. I put the phone in my pocket. The batteries, which were warm, I held for a second and then placed them in a pocket of mine. I tried the flashlight in the palm of my hand as far under the desk as I could, and it was back to full power. It projected a nice, soft, ghostly, matte, pasty glow again. With that, I clicked it back off and tried to think for a second. I wasn't going to find anything in the lobby, most likely, that I was going to be able to use right now. Going around the lobby with my flashlight was sure to attract attention if there was any attention to attract from the road or other businesses. Just in case people were arriving at work this early in the morning, I still had to be careful. I needed to get deeper into the building where I could break line of sight with the road again. This was in order for me to get my flashlight back on and begin to scout. Hopefully I could find the stairs up to the second floor. I thought about the lobby's layout from memory, and then I mentally mapped out in my head where I thought the 3 exits were from where I was. I remembered roughly where the upstairs path was in relation to the way outside. I stood up, swung the backpack around carefully and tightly to not snag anything. Then muscle memory patted on my belt and important pockets and critical bits, and everything was in place. And then there was a slam at the outer heavy doors outside. I froze in place, trying to gather as much information as I could about this noise, first thinking about its distance relative to me. The lobby had a 2-door stage system. The noise was at the outer door. The noise was at the outer doors. The noise was the outer door slamming inwards. So it was the bolt and mechanism slamming into steel. Building pressure? Or would building pressure slam the inner door? I couldn't think very well. I didn't hear anything else outside. Could something heavy have flown and hit it? I still didn't hear any wind, so I stand and wait 5 minutes. Nothing moves, and I started to get really cold, not having moved in a while. No sirens, no cars going by, no people coming to work this early, no nothing. Back to thinking about the doors. The style of doors doesn't really keep the place well pressurized. They don't really keep the climate control either. Something sort of in the middle. Still a heck of a lot better system than those useless turnstile doors, at least, which are beyond a waste. I couldn't wait any longer, and there hadn't been any movement or new noise. I still had at least another hour and a half until daylight, and I was clearly chilled at this point. I'd been standing still for too long trying to wait out the noise situation. It's hard to keep the shivers under control, and each breath, I imagine, was a cloud in front of me. I carefully turn around and blink a few times. I think I can see the outlines, and with my memory carefully scooted my way forward, trying not to bump into anything. I then reached out my hand to touch the wall to steady myself and started to lose my balance in the dark. I walked down the hall an unsure distance, which I was getting used to, and which gradually sloped into a corner that was a dead end. That didn't make sense. I couldn't tell if there was any windows or not. I really didn't want my flashlight to advertise to the world that there was someone in here. I felt around the wall and went from normal to cold still. I had found the elevator. That must mean the stairs were behind me. I turned around, walked a few steps, and bumped into the staircase. I grabbed the railing and kicked around until I found the stairs. Upon finding them, I carefully treaded up the stairs by feel until I got to the office. I turned the flashlight back on at this point, due to being on a second level, but I tried to keep the beam low to the floor. I also tried to cup the light beam so it wouldn't flood the area with light to where people outside would see a reflection. I knew there would still be a chance, but I didn't want to walk into furniture, a potted plant, or off the ledge on accident. My flashlight only had one brightness setting, so I clicked on the light with my beam. I quickly scanned to make sure there were no shin to knee-high coffee tables and no other crazy railings or whatever down to the first floor. I also tried to gauge what the line of sight would be from the second floor to the ground level outside to gauge if I had to worry about using my flashlight from up here. I also tried to gauge the other building's line of sight, but everything outside was pitch darkness. I couldn't see the other buildings out the windows, and I couldn't see the road. I still realized the glow would be noticed by passersby as it reflected off everything. However, there were no people on the roads. It was quiet, so I thought maybe I'd be able to hear them in time and shut my light off, so I figured I was okay, as long as I didn't shine the flashlight above chest height. I kept the light low and cupped to not reflect off the ceiling. With that, I proceeded to try to keep me, my knees, and shins safe. Then I realized there was another gated pull-down fence in my way covering the entrance into the actual offices. I turned and looked to see a tiny table, chair, and phone, and turned back and there was still a gated fence. The fence had not been an illusion, unfortunately. Here's the funny thing, though, and you aren't going to believe me. There were 6 latches into the floor, which made this extra secure. I didn't think that in and of itself was strange, but the fact that there was no singular mechanism to open it. Instead of one mechanism like you would expect, above each latch was about 4 feet up a keyhole with a different little icon. A piece of plastic wrap, a plastic bottle, a piece of diamond-plated steel, a battery, a cardboard box, and then a pair of glasses. So, yeah. Why am I seriously not surprised? I thought to myself. I looked out towards the window, and there isn't even a hint of dawn yet. There's still 2 more hours. Are you kidding me? I mashed my face up to the fencing for a second to look through, which was sort of dumb because it was very cold and the fence smacked my glasses onto my face, which hurt. On the other side of the fence, there appeared to be another pressure plate similar to the one downstairs. This pressure plate was slightly different, though, and is about 6 inches by 6 inches and was clearly weight-based. Something very heavy would have to mash it down with force springs to push prongs backwards and the latches to go into, I guess. There was no way that was happening from here. I needed to find 6 keys. Chapter 16. Backtracking to the main metric board. As I gingerly made my way down the stairs with my light now off again, walking by memory, I thought some more. I remember thinking to myself that these people obviously all had shared love for a favorite video game of mine where the corporation had absurdly complex key systems to get into buildings and rooms. It made me chuckle again inside, though, because I imagined that sort of unified balance in place where the blue collars would come upstairs to unlock the white collars' office every morning. Was that for real, I wondered? Like a symbolic check and balance system, sort of, like mutual respect? As I crossed through the lobby out into the main facility, I imagined the white collars settling in upstairs checking emails as the blue collars put their lunches away. Then they would go say good morning and do their morning pre-checks on all the machines. Then I thought about the supervisors checking all their emails to grab the reports in preparation for the morning huddles with their teams. Finally, they would report back to where I was now at the main metric board. The blue collars would meet with management from both sides of the business to clear any roadblocks getting in the way of meeting the day's respective goals. I clicked on my flashlight, now deep inside the warehouse again, where nobody could see. To match my thoughts, there I was back outside the receiving office and lunchroom area, basically where I had started. I was next to the management metric board. I looked on the walls for a legend to decide which line was which painted on the floor. It was at this point I decided plastics would be first. Hopefully, I could get 2 keys knocked out at once. With the shivers completely out of my control and coming on every 30 seconds or so and seeing my breath in front of my face, I followed the painted lines on the floor to plastics.